Alright, apparently I am streaming and we're on camera number 2. So it's time to talk about our next stretch goal for the Big Pockets Kickstarter. So here we have the big canvas tote bag. As you can see, it's massive. Just to show you what's inside the tote bag here. I'll see if I can get this on camera. It does have a zip along the top, and inside here I have, let's see, I'm just gonna, hey Kairos, hi Lysander, here's our battle mat, standard issue double-sided Big Pockets battle mat. Here is the character sheet, and then we've got the combat tracker. And what else have I got in here? I've got a laptop, my core books for D&D, I know they're super swish, what can I say? I like swanky stuff. And let's see, I've got a charger. And inside here, in the pocket, in the Big Pockets bag, is another pocket with a zip, and this is where I keep dice and pencils and marker pens and things like that. And yeah, you can fit tons of stuff in here. It's super huge. All right, and that is also super cheap on the Kickstarter. I've got the prices written down somewhere, but they're not here. But you can check that out on the link down below. Put this stuff aside. Also, down the bottom here, I've got this is the transparent mat that a lot of people have been asking about, and I've had a surprising large amount of orders for on the pledges, which is cool. But today, I might be demonstrating some of the properties of the mat, but maybe not. Today we're going to do some more mapping and chatting about D&D stuff. I love how these just fold flat. Perfectly flat every time. Right, back to me. Hello. Why am I silly, Silicone? What have I done? What have I done? Greetings. Shift realities to the shopping network. It's a bit like that, isn't it? When you're running a Kickstarter, it's just like everything is the Kickstarter. Oh yeah, the book covers were custom made by basically a bookbinder. It's not a lost art. You can have your crappy 5th edition books. Remember when 5th edition books first started coming out and the print quality was really bad? And like the binding was really bad and they started to fall apart? Well, I decided that I was going to get a set of my books reupholstered, essentially, recovered, whatever, in leather. Dice don't lie, hello. You're going to be upset if Reese Darby isn't playing Durnan in the movie, the D&D movie. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not in Waterdeep. I could be wrong. Thomas, you probably should be asleep. Oh, hey G-Man. It's going well. Hello, Yubtub's High Priest. So I was thinking, I've been felt out, I guess you could call it, like probed by Spring, the web store which I've been selling my t-shirts on for years. And they said, hey, why don't you make some digital content, because you're perfectly in a place to produce some digital content for people. People are obviously very interested in certain topics on your videos. And I was like, that's true. So I'm thinking about writing a guide to demons and devils for D&D 5th edition, including all of the extra stuff that I've dug up from old editions and things like that, and talking about the politics of the Nine Hells and the layers of the Abyss that we know about and things like that. Just lots of information about the Abyss and the Nine Hells and the creatures that you find there. Draw us a dungeon? I can draw you a dungeon. So I wanted your feedback today to wonder if that's a good idea. If that's something you're interested in buying as a digital PDF instead of a T-shirt or a bag or whatever. Not these bags, the Kickstarter bags. You should definitely buy those. We're about $600 away from unlocking that stretch goal, I think. Yeah. Vervatos Vex. I don't know who that is. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good idea too, Corey. Oh, your False Hydra boss battle was a huge hit. The reveal and the fight was spectacular. The party only made it out by the skin of their teeth. Yeah, that's a nasty monster. I can see why it's kind of like a viral monster. You did, Mikey. Well done. You had me at hell low. Nice one, Mike. The soul trade is fascinating. Yeah, I thought there's been, like, the majority of the questions that I've been getting in regards to cosmology and things like that has been about the lower planes and the Nine Hells and the Abyss and all of that stuff. And I think finally, after doing this for 5-7 years or so, I've got a pretty good bead on what makes the devils and the demons tick, like, distinctively from each other. Hey, Sky. And I also remember when I first started out in D&D and I didn't really understand the difference between devils and demons and Yugoloths. Like, there was no real huge distinction. Thanks, William. By the way, this is a monetized super chat. If you want to forego monetized super chat and go over to the Kickstarter instead and back me there, that would also be cool. Unlock all these goodies for everybody else. My opinion, yes, but remember to keep your deeply nerdy style and remind them to get a tasty beverage. This is true. Happy Juneteenth, happy Pride. Yeah, happy Pride Month, everyone. I've been good, thanks, Bill. Monetize everything. Yeah. Well, the tricky thing is that it's not going to be a... I don't plan on filling it full of stats or new demons and devils and things like that. It's just all the existing stuff. Like, I don't need to make any new demons. There are so many. I've got a video on all the different types of listed demons from D&D history, and there are a lot. So, yeah. To hunt the devil, you must become the devil. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, the Kickstarter is now like 160% funded or something, so that's pretty cool. Yay, Pride Month! Woohoo! All the rainbows. I'll take the last 3 hearts, thank you. Can you make your Discord a bit more lively? It's always a bit quiet when you stream. Can you also do a Ravenloft setting series? Yeah, I can talk about the different domains of dread, for sure. I'm just going to pop over to our other camera and do some drawy stuff. I can talk about the other domains of dread, for sure. So what are the different settings that we've got in D&D? We've got the one that everybody forgets about, which is Birthright, which in a nutshell is like a low magic setting. Then we've got Dark Sun. We've got Greyhawk. We have Ravenloft, which is kind of its own setting. We've got Eberron. We've got Karatur, which I'm going to count as a separate setting because, generally speaking, I don't think I've ever seen a game... Ooh, the glare. I don't think I've ever seen a game that is specifically like a Forgotten Realms game where they play only in Karatur. Like, it's either Karatur or something else, but it's like Karatua is the mysterious east, right? And then I've got Forgotten Realms. What else have we got? Hi, Dragon Ball Talk in New York. I didn't know you were in New York. That's nice. Thanks, Vader Mardark. Let's see. There's the Magic the Gathering settings. I'm forgetting some other ones here, I'm sure. So we've got Ravnica, obviously. What else? We got... We'll just put these as Mist. We've got Wildmount. Theros. Oh, Dragonlance, of course. Yeah, thank you. Put that up the top. Bone and Ice Devils playing hockey. That would be awesome. Yeah, I also like Dune and sci-fi stuff, Shaka. I also play like Traveller and Heroes Unlimited and Rifts and things like that, so I like a good sci-fi setting as well. Oh yeah, Strixhaven. I've got to say, Strixhaven looks really awesome. And I can see specifically lots and lots of players who are going to be very keen on Strixhaven, and I can see why, and I fully endorse it. Mystara. Okay, sorry. So when you say Mystara, I say D&D basic. So because the one is the same, the one that they are synonymous with each other. D&D basic and Mystara are the same thing, if you ask me. South Africa. Yeah, I suppose it's winter over in South Africa too. Now it's a day before the shortest day here in New Zealand, so it would be around the longest day over in the States right now, which means that you're all outside playing beach ball, I assume, with masks on, maybe. It's a mask on the beach ball. There we go. And nobody's watching YouTube videos right now, which is fine. I'm not making any money on YouTube. That's okay. Add-on, man. Ooh. What do I think of mana in Magic the Gathering Multiverse and mana potions? I don't know. Like, I'm perfectly okay with Dominaria. Should be a setting, by the way, Wizard of the Coast. I mean, why piss around when you can go with the full course, right? Dominaria should be the world setting that we have for Magic the Gathering. Are they waiting for that? Are they like teasing it along like some bad DM who said that the big boss battle is going to be awesome and then makes you wait 10 sessions for it? When are we going to see Dominaria? Because a lot of the stuff that happens in the Magic the Gathering lore doesn't make sense without Dominaria. Like, where's Khan? Where's Ursa? Where's all these? Where's Phyrexia? That's what I want to know. God, I want a Phyrexia setting so bad. Like, you've seen how excited I am for Arcana of the Ancients. Now imagine combining Arcana of the Ancients and Undeath, death and life being interchangeable, and that's, yeah. You want new Phyrexia? I need new Phyrexia. Or if you're like me 3 years ago calling it Pyrexia because you've never actually talked to a regular person. Yeah, there are some plane shift articles, which have got a few settings, but they're very bare bones. What's the default setting for 4th edition? That was Nerath. I'm going to have to make new... Oops, I cannot write. I just like erasing pens, what can I say? Nerath. I'm going to put that down in the subcategory because it's not really considered by many to be, well, I'm just going to dry off my Nerath. That was named after the human empire that was kind of destroyed, whereas you had a tiefling and a dragonborn empire, which were fighting it out on the planet. And Nenther Vale. Well, yeah, there's Innistrad. I'm just taking this from your spelling. Where's Riftsurf? That's the question. Yeah. Is it 2D Innistrad? I don't know. Actually, everyone is lying about being vaccinated. There's an Upper Peninsula of Michigan? The Manistee Imperium? Any new dragon videos on the way? Yep, I should be coming up with some dragon videos soon. Yeah, Karatua has really been left in the lurch. And, like, on the one hand, it's kind of okay that, like, I'm fine with it not being another, like, whitewashed setting with all these kung fu tropes and stuff from bad movies from the 70s. I am fine with that. In fact, I think Mystic China by Palladium Books is one of the better D&D sort of like kung fu and all that sort of stuff, Mysterious East and stuff. But Karatua's got its own sort of vibe to it, like the Celestial Court and stuff, and I think it can be handled fairly well. Like if you're a bunch of non-Asian people who are playing in a Karatua setting, that's your own business. Honestly, it's not like somebody's going to kick the door down and accuse you of doing things wrong. That only happens on Twitter. Zendikar? There's another one, a magic rich setting, I'm sure. Planescape and Sigil, yeah, I suppose so. I'm going to put that in the subcategory. Sigil, Planescape. Planescape is really the world setting, you could say, of that. Kamikigawa. No more drum texting? Kamigawa is the better Karatua. I don't think I've got any experience with Kamigawa. Seven Kingdoms era D&D. Malatra, I think Malatra is interesting because of the extra stuff that got added to it by fans, but Malatra on its own is just a blank space on the map, really. If it's the one I'm thinking of. Yep, Spelljammer. Again, that would be underneath the all things category, I suppose. Spelljammer. Boy, that my writing is absolutely terrible. I just like rubbing, demonstrating the wet dry ability of this mat. What can I say? Epic Thulu, thank you. Amazing Kickstarter. If a soul were dragged into limbo, could it be forcibly shaped into an item by something like a Githzerai limbo stuff shaper? Well, the soul would manifest itself as a petitioner, I imagine. Limbo's tricky though. It could manifest itself as just a random assortment of that person's life experiences that are manifesting themselves in a little whirling cyclone of weirdness. Because the soul is alive, and really it's the soul stuff of a person which is manipulating the mutable reality of limbo. So it would be, I imagine, if it's a player character who's the soul, for instance, it would be an opposed thing, because basically anything where you're countermanding the free will of a player character would be like a saving throw situation or a contested will situation. Whereas if it's just an NPC soul, it could be a gem, it could be any little thingamajiggy. And yeah, you'll just use that as a demonstration. So I don't think you really need to worry about rules and stuff in regards to what you can do with things in the in Limbo, as long as you impart the idea to players that Limbo can be changed by their force of will. That's all you really need to do, and that can be done completely narratively. Mazdaker, yep, Mazdaker is again in with the. So Mazdaker is basically South America. And Karatur is Misk Asia. And Melatra is what? I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Am I wrong? My world map has just got a blank thingy down the bottom of it. But basically, like Madagascar, maybe? I don't know. And Zakara would, of course, be Zakhara is the Middle East. Essentially. Yep, we're listing settings. Ebron? Rokugan? Debai, my players killed my dragon in 2 rounds. That's on me. What do you guys think I should throw at them for a better challenge? I'm thinking Otyugs plural. I'm thinking go back to dragon again and do it right. So if you killed the dragon in 2 rounds, really that dragon was not very high on the dragon rating. So first of all, you're not just fighting the monster, you're fighting the environment that the monster is in. So it could have traps, it could have timed conditions, it could have extra mobs which are coming in, it could have mobs which you drive away, it could have conditions which change suddenly. The terrain might all of a sudden become, a crevasse or a fire or a crevasse on fire. It could be all sorts of different things. But the monster is the complication which is inside of an adventuring environment that the characters are dealing with anyway. And the monster, of course, is familiar with where the traps are. It knows when the timed events are going to happen. It can detect when hordes and mobs and stuff are coming in, and it can see when they're going out, and it can adapt quickly to any changing conditions, because that's its home. That's where it lives. You're just going to listen, nothing's good on cable? Oh, well, yeah. It's the middle of summer. You guys should all be outside and doing stuff. Well, that's what my mum used to say to me when I was young. Go outside and do things. So I did. I went outside and chopped down trees. She said, stop chopping down trees, and took away my tomahawk. So mean. It's like, it's not my fault that I'm genetically predisposed to chopping down timber. The Big Trouble in Little China tabletop game. There should be at least be a board game. Council of Worms is you saying that's like a setting? I don't think that's a setting. It's a module. Thanks, Saint Balustrade. A crevice on fire. Yeah. Yeah, Al-Qadim is Zakara. Is it Al-Qadim. What was I just reading that? Ravnica is actually Central European. Kinda. Apart from the fact that it's got raving mobs of like werebores and hill giants can hold local council office and that sort of thing. The thing I really like about Ravnica is that you can like morph it into all sorts of different things, because the fantasy is in the urban environment. The urban environment is fantasy as a result. Like, you literally can have a Minotaur guard captain, and that sort of thing. So there's limitless possibilities in what you can do in Ravnica. And with Theros, you can have epic campaigns, or you can have campaigns like basically your character is wheat farmer David Stratham. Is it David Stratham? Yeah. And so he basically is just trying to live his life, and the gods keep interfering, and so he takes up his plowshare and travels to a mystical forge, reforges it into a mystical weapon with the thanks of, mystical gods, and off he goes to like kill supernatural threats, so he can go back to grain farming. This is what I like about Theros. Katashaka, that's probably the one I'm thinking of. Oh no, that's across the ocean over beyond Lantan and the Moonshae Isles and stuff. Katashaka is where you find all the origin of humans ruins. So if you went looking back for human history of before the Sundering, Katashaka is where most of that would be located. Also a lot of Eleutheri ruins and things like that around Katashaka as well. Neo-Gothica? Yeah, Council of Worms is a box set, but it can be set kind of anywhere. Like, it's not really talking about a world per se. Eberron, you could like easily set the Council of Worms in Eberron, for instance, because Eberron has got a dragon-ruled continent. Scorch. I was waiting for somebody to ask me about the Drow lore changes. It isn't a change of Drow lore. It's an expansion of Drow lore, and it's completely covered. Anybody who's studied the Crown Wars and what the Eleutheri got up to knows that there was different factions. There was the one that was attacking Maiartar, and there was the one which was attacking Arivandor, and they turned into separate factions. Like, there's ones that went up further north pre-Sundering, and the Sundering broke apart their population, which was already fairly secretive and underground in the first place, because everybody was basically hating on the Eleutheri Dark Elves, and the Dark Elves were hating on them for good reason. But who to point blame at with the Drow gets very, very questionable, because the Drow went full evil. The other guys were also pretty evil, and did nasty things to the Eleutheri. But you can say that they didn't directly attack the Eleutheri; they just kind of wiped them out by ignoring their existence and making changes to the world as they saw fit. Typical Gold Elf bullshit. So, what Wizards of the Coast have been guilty of is assuming that Menzo Baranzan equals all Drow. Oops, I've gone off my map. Doo-doo. Which, it does not equal all Drow. Not all Drow are evil. So all drow also includes worshippers of Illustray. Nobody can spell her name. So Illustray voluntarily banished herself so that she could make sure that her brother Vayrun didn't fall too hard into the clutches of her mother Lolth. Vayrun, of course, was an evil shit, and Lolth is super evil. And Lolth's objective is not to rule the drow, the Dark Elves. It is to ruin the Dark Elves and the drow because she hates Corellin, their daddy. So they're the kids in the divorce battle between two gods, essentially, and there is a lot of middle ground there. So Menzoberranzan is the extreme on the side of drow who are with Lolth. In fact, you can call Menzoberranzan the cult of the drow, or the cult of Lolth, I should say. So it's very, very, very hardcore Lolth. But there are other places where they have factions which are dedicated to Vayrun, or dedicated to Illustray, or to other gods and things, who concentrate on psychic powers rather than magic, who are in the upper Underdark, or in the lower Underdark. So the Dark Elves have been in the Underdark for a very long time, and there's different factions of them. All these optional rules, pretty much 5.5. Well, I've often said as soon as we get a rules compendium for 5th edition, that's the end of 5th edition. We're now into 6th edition territory, but we're not there yet. But yeah, we got plenty of material for sure to run our games in existing settings. And I'd say that old school players of the game probably played, I don't know whether they played, do you think people play more like homebrew these days than they used to? I'm just going to switch cameras again. Thanks, Jimmy. Lolth is the evil stepmother who somehow got the kids in the divorce and is teaching the kids to hate dad. Yeah, perfect analogy. What are my roll bonuses for having a golden llama? I don't know, Corey. Cosmic baby mamas always be tripping. Baby drama mama. Spider smooches, yeah. Hey, Moonring. Everything, you missed everything. We're half an hour into the live stream. Hey, Adranith. Spider kisses and their squabbles are not the only drow in the Underdark. Yeah. And not only that, it's not even the biggest city. It's not even the capital of the drow culture in the Underdark. Menzoberranzan is just one place. It just happens to be in the far north, close to Waterdeep and the events of the Icewind Dale trilogy and all of the other R.A. Salvatore books. So they get a lot of features and mentions in those novels, and of course any existing content gets capitalized on by the role-playing system people. And so we get lots of resources for it. But the Drow of the Underdark, for instance, I've got that somewhere in my... What's that one? Yeah, the Drow of the Underdark. There it is. Wow, I actually found something for once. So, the Drow of the Underdark by Ed Greenwood talks about worship of Guanadao, for instance. And the runes and things that you can find that the drow use. But Dark Elven Society, the High History of the Drow, a deep select glossary of Deep Drow, Dark Elven Runes, the Spider and the Axe, the War in the Depths between the Dwarves and the Drow, obviously. Let's see, the High History of the Drow. Let's see, page 46. I'm sure nobody will mind me having an out loud read of this. Hey, hi, welcome to Bronze Dragon, Vincent. Yeah, it's most famous because of the books by R.A. Salvador, yeah. And hello, Viking Beard. Yep. I knew well that Forgotten Realms is now in Magic the Gathering. The crossover, which I long predicted, has come to pass. I don't mind being right about that one. Let's see. Chapter 4, High History of the Drow. The history of the Drow in the Realms is long and grand, but very murky to the sage or interested inquirer of today. Truth has been willfully twisted by clever and fanatical Drow to serve many partisan noble house interests and the major Drow faiths. It is usual in Lolth-dominated communities, for example, to pretend that traitors to the goddess or vanquished noble houses simply never existed. Although this is a hollow deceit, at the time it effectively rewrites history by 4 generations, but by 4 generations later. So essentially, they wipe out the records of houses. So 4 generations later, nobody knows they existed. Makes researching their early history and all the other different and Drow factions very difficult. Particularly if, like, nobody in Menzo Baransan will even acknowledge that a larger Drow city on the other side of Mulhorun, for instance, even exists. The history of the Drow can thus only be recounted in general terms, following the work of Shaheranios, a Drow sage who dwelt in long ago Myth Draenor and compiled the High History of the Drow. What you are about to read are excerpts from this book, Susprina. Oh, did somebody mention that in the comments before? I think they did. Elminster tells us he is currently working on a sequel. So we know very little about the Illitheri or Elves of the South before this crucial event. Even then, they were known as Dark Elves for the hue of their skins. They dwelt in the jungles and hot forests of the south, a proud, warlike, culturally advanced, some sages of other elven people say decadent folk. The Illitheri attacked all neighbours, including other elven tribes. Their cruel raids and depredations, ordered by warlike nobility and the clergy of their 2 cruel deities, Gwanadow and Lolth, forced elves, humans and dwarves and others to ally against them. Defeated, the Dark Elves fled into the underground warrens that had earlier discovered. This event, known as the Descent, marked the end of the Drow as a surface-dwelling race. Now that's quite a different narrative from the gods basically made us this way and we cannot leave the Underdark because reasons. The raw, warlike Drow nature did not change when they escaped their surface foes. They immediately launched a series of wars to establish territories in the Underdark. They began by stealing and seizing dwarven magical items and using them against the dwarves, establishing an enmity that still is strong today. The Drow then fought among themselves, noble against noble, priest against priestess, for rule of their new realm. This all-out war ended amid great magical explosions that brought down the roof of the largest dwarven cavern they had seized, Great Berundin. The ceiling collapsed entirely, burying many Drow and shattered dwarven cities. The cavern, now open to the sky, became known as the Great Rift, which is along the Shah. The surviving Drow nobles gathered what people, slaves and equipment they could seize and fled into the Underdark in search of places to dwell. The scattering brought about many rival self-interest cities where most Drow live today. Right? The shattering. So the Drow were at war with each other and with the denizens of the Underdark, including the dwarves. And the shattering basically saw their main war drive get destroyed, all of their factions scatter into the different places in the world and go dark, go silent from each other, essentially. Oh, nice. You got a dwarven Drow player. That's cool. Yeah. The only problem with inviting dragons onto your team is once they're on your team, they own your team. Yeah, well, the Elder Elemental Eye is Gwanadow / Tharizdun / all these other nasty things. So where there's a cult of the Elder Elemental Eye in the Drow, that's basically a remnant of their Gonadarian priesthood. What is the place where the primordials are? So there's a sister planet to Tyrol called Aber, which I don't really talk about a lot because I've never really used it, and I don't know a lot of people who do. But it's kind of interesting to have a sister world which is essentially ruled over by primordials. So magic and stuff. You know, there's no limit on the weave in Aber as far as I know. So you could cast 10th level or 11th level spells. You could create another Netheril on Aber if you wanted to. Jose, you've been noticing that D&D players are trying to incorporate SCP lore, Secure, Contain, Protect lore, into their campaigns. It seems out of place because of the sci-fi aspect versus fantasy. Well, I'm of the opinion that sci-fi and fantasy are interchangeable, largely. I mean, your player doesn't know that it's not a magic wand, it's a remote control, or it's not a magic wand, it's a sidearm. You know, there's no difference as far as they're concerned. It's like, what is this weird gadget? Well, it's got these little metal chunks that you put in the one end, and it fires out mini lightning bolts on the other. So really? Yeah. It's got a railgun. Yep, it stopped working. Can we recharge it? Well, the wizard doesn't know how. Oh well. Imagine you take your handgun, 6-shooter, to a wizard and say, could you recharge my magical wand? And they're like, I have no idea what this is. It looks like some sort of artificer thing from Lantern. And then he charges it up and turns it into a wand of minor magic missile. It's like, I improved it. It doesn't need ammunition anymore. It'll just recharge by itself. Is there any kind of Myconid capital in the Underdark? No, not really. The Myconids don't need capitals. Like, you could say that they're a living organization. So their surroundings are basically, they're just expanding their environment and terraforming it to better suit their purposes. So they burrow through into water sources and they create lush tropical areas of fungus forest. And their sovereign is kind of their capital. Like, they are oriented around their sovereign. Netheril shall rise again. Literally. It's true. Yep, Salvatore invented Menzobrans in it, as far as I know. What's your opinion on the Magic the Gathering and D&D crossover books? Books? Are there books? I'm all in favour. Where's the hat? Down beside me. It's not a staff, it's a sniper rifle. Wand of 9mm. Yeah, wand of mini magic missiles. You think it would be cool if the Drow were hiding from Lolth in an Elder Slaanesh fashion? Or Eldar. Yeah. Hard truths. Anti-Pony Association? Is this like anti-My Little Pony? Or is it just anti-bronies? Anti-brony Association. I know some bronies. They're not bad people. Some of them are really bad people. Most of them are okay. Thanks for your content, AJ. It serves a double purpose for me. As a DM, it helps keep me up to date with D&D lore and gives me ideas for my campaign. And the videos help me fall asleep before bed. Cheers. You're most welcome. Ping, 1 per shot, still ammo. Opinion on the Tome of Beasts 1 and 2. Fantastic. Anxious Bug. I would say pick those up as just a rule of, like, I would say include those in your core books. Creature Codex, Tome of Beasts, and Tome of Beasts 2 are excellent products. Kobold Press should be commended. And they should carry on making monster books forever, including ones that have got my submissions in them. They didn't put the pinkus in there, unfortunately. I think they thought I was joking or making rude innuendo. I wasn't. Hello, Chalker Bob. Biopunk. How many Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance novels have you read? I've read not as many as I would like. There's still like all of Elaine Cunningham's stuff that I really need to get through. I've read pretty much almost everything by R.S. Salvatore. I've got to read a lot of Ed Greenwood's stuff as well. Basically, there's so many novels and things to catch up on. As for Dragonlance, I've read like the Dragons of Winter and Summer and those guys, and from Tales from last time. But that was a long, long time ago, and I could really reread those for sure. Mead or cheese? No, I haven't. You can see in the corner there, that is a bottle of mead that I drank when my Kickstarter was funded. The pink ooze was yours. That's awesome. Yeah, but it's not in the book though. I do have a video on it. I suppose I could go and get some cheese. I have some in my fridge. Just like not in the mood for cheese right now. A beer is their official setting. What? For who? Sinsu. Most people assume Hyboria is a low magic to no magic setting, but I have to disagree. In the books, he has many enemies who are wizards. It's from the perspective of a barbarian who distrusts magic. Yeah, that's what I like about Conan. Like, Conan is a very anti-magic character, and D&D barbarians are based on Conan, you could say. Essentially, like, they used to get experience points for destroying magical items, and whenever Conan, if you discover in the movies, encounters a wizard or a witch or something like that, it usually ends in violence. Like, as far as Conan is concerned, magic is bad. He does travel with a shaman, though, a wizard, who basically brings him back from the dead at one point in a very cool sequence where he wasn't calling on, like, nice powers to do so. Ooh, that's another good topic for conversation. We assume that in Dungeons and Dragons, all of the healing magic, all of the resurrections and all that sort of stuff is done from the upper planes, right? So the cleric calls on the gods and they restore a body, you know, get rid of bad conditions, curses and things like that. However, there is an entirely different faction at work in the multiverse who are just as capable of bringing people back from the dead and things like that. So why not have clerics of basically demons and things like that who will go, oh yeah, I'll bring your character back to life for cheap. Like, oh no, you don't need a 500 gold piece diamond. You just need to give me a litre of your blood and your horse, or, you know, that retainer over there you don't particularly like. Oh, I remember Gauntlet. I played Gauntlet so much. Yeah, most of the sorcerers and wizards in Howard's stories came to a bad end. Yeah, Conan versus Cthulhu. That'll be a short fight. One man, one giant squid person. What do I expect to see in a D&D movie, and do you see a D&D series a possibility? I think a D&D series is a possibility only as far as the success of the D&D movie will be, and I think the D&D movie is going to be another train wreck. It's going to be awful, but I'm going to be on board and going to go and watch it and throw some money at the cinema to go and watch it. But I have no expectation that it's going to be any better than any of the other D&D movies. You know why? Because D&D is I don't know. It's always better in our minds, you know? Like a novel is always a better way of absorbing a story than a TV series. Yep. Revivify is actually a lot more difficult to use than you would think. Look at the material components on the Revivify spell and tell me that that's an easy spell to pull off. It's not. I've had a character that's been playing Storm King's Thunder for a while. He's had Revivify the entire time, The one time I was going to use it, I was like, oh, 500 gold pieces worth of diamond. I don't have that. Particularly if your cleric happens to be an aesthetic who doesn't actually collect money, it can be really difficult. And also, to add insult to injury, he's a gnome, so he won't willingly destroy gemstones because he thinks that gnomish souls are in them. Hey, thanks, Jimmy. I like the idea of a shaman, wizard, cleric hybrid, probably support utility class of a sword. Yeah. The riddle of steel. This you can trust. These days, of course, it would be the riddle of silicone. This you can trust. Not gold, not jewels, not horses. Literally just chilling, Mason. How long do we have to wait for a Drizzt movie series when it becomes okay to have basically a European featured black person in a fantasy setting? And in today's culture, I don't see that happening. Not only that, but bear in mind that 70% of the profits from movies these days comes from China. So if China doesn't get a D&D movie that they understand, we're never going to see a D&D movie again. And can you see China really getting behind a Drow-led movie? I don't think so. Scorched. So, what do you think about the Drow law changes? don't even. Silicone. We're not men, not giants, just gamers. There comes a time when the jewels cease to sparkle. Gold loses its luster, and all that's left is a king's desire for a really good gaming mat. Where are we? Temporarily lost my screen. Oh, I'm back again. Alright, let's switch cameras again. So, is there any that I missed here? So we've got Bastara, Dragonlance, Birthright, Darksun, Greyhawk, Ravenloft, Eberron, Karatur, Forgotten Realms, Spelljammer, Narath, Sigil, Planescape, Ravnica, Wildermount, Theros, Strixhaven, Innistrad, Zendikar. Can we think of any others? Can you finish your D&D class series? I will never finish the D&D class series. I can keep making more class videos. They're always very popular. You'd think that I would make them left, right, and centre, considering how much money they make me over the years, but they're actually really difficult to do. Yeah. Ken Yong in the drow makeup, was that blackface? Was that blackface? Does it not count as blackface if an Asian man is dressed up like a drow? You see what I mean? And we were talking about a country that edited out certain characters from certain posters so that their movies would have a broader appeal. Hey, Mr. L. Talking of SCP. Talking of Mystara. Oh, Red Steel, I suppose. As part of that would also be a semi-world setting. Or really, it's just a part of Mystara, I suppose. A Paladin class video? Greyhawk for life, yo. It's true. If you do ride from one side of Greyhawk to the other, it will take an entire lifetime. No, they're just in the order of what I can remember of different settings. I'm just going to just goes to show that there's actually a lot of different variety and settings and stuff in D&D. And all the existing materials and lore. For 5th edition, you hear a lot of people say, make the joke about here's Faerun, for instance. and they say, here's the remembered realms, and this is the forgotten realms. All the rest of it on the inside. It's like, what about this? The Sword Coast? Oh yeah, that's the remembered realms. The rest of it is all forgotten. It's like, not true. So, I'm going to take it as fairly positive feedback from people that they would like to see some sort of AJ's Guide to Devils and Demons PDF that I sell on my my Spring store. I'm going to take that as a general okay from people. Like, that's a good idea. Is there anything else? Oh, did I miss Super Chats? Thanks, Adriana. I haven't got my usual setup, so they don't spring out at me. Oh, there you are. Chaos ships. Ah, yes. Thanks, Moonring. Thanks, Adriana. Yeah, Chaos ships. Okay, so you know how you got Spelljammer ships? Camera. So, a Chaos ship is much like an ordinary sort of sailing vessel. Standard caravel style design here. Gonna put a ballista on the front. And here's our tiller. So here's your standard caravel. And it looks perfectly ordinary until you get up close and you realize that the it's not actually like clinker built like normal ships. This is actually made from compressed bone. Oops. Bone. And the masts may be made up of spines. Like spinal cords. Like spine bones. And this ballista may in fact be a demon that fires other demons. And down below, say there's like 2 decks. Down below there will be like a furnace inside there, and they throw mains or other souls inside it. The sails are made of human skin. So if you're getting the idea that these things are built on the lower planes where the materials for building things are basically built up of things that you've killed, resources that are lying around, as in lots and lots of corpses, you'd be right. The soul furnace basically acts like a helm in a spelljamming vessel, in that it will weaken the boundaries and essentially propel the chaos ship through breaks in dimensionality. Here's my dimensional rift. And that's essentially how it navigates and travels around. So it's like a spelljamming ship, but it's for planescape traveling. So it's for traveling between planes. In the Baldur's Gate D&D game thingy, where the Nautiloid ship was traveling around through a form of teleportation, essentially it was acting very much like a chaos ship was intended to do. That was what chaos ships basically did. And you can find these things abandoned all over the place. Now, bear in mind that although D&D has 5th edition is trying to get rid of evil as best it possibly can, these ships are evil as fuck. So If you are a individual who is trying to pilot the ship and you link up with it and you are not thoroughly evil, you're dead meat. It's going to kill you very nastily and very easily, and pretty instantly, and like it just demonstrably badly. Your death will be a horrible, whining, pitiful display of how utterly stupid that idea was of trying to bond with a totally evil as fuck ship. So the Chaos ships are sought out by demons and Slard and all sorts of other creatures, and they're built and constructed, and they use the souls of mains and other lower, lesser creatures to power them. So maggots and mains and lemures and things like that will all do the same sort of thing. Any sort of petitioner's soul you can throw in there will power it for quite a long time. And that's Chaos ships for you. Harvested from all sorts of different creatures. Yeah. So these ships aren't designed to travel through the phlogiston or travel from sphere to sphere. They're basically there to smash from one dimension to another. So they travel between the layers of the abyss and all sorts of other stuff. They don't fly or anything like that as far as I know, although you could probably give them some sort of magical flight powers depending on what sort of souls you supercharge them with. But other than that, they're basically just a ship that can travel between different dimensions, which in itself is pretty cool. They don't have any of the sort of restrictions, like you don't have to be a spellcaster in order to pilot it, for instance. The Soul Furnace takes care of that for you, so you don't, instead of like a spelljamming ship where you would be a spellcaster and you would feed your spell slots into the helm to basically power the ship along, these ones you just basically throw victims into it and it eats them and powers the ship. Yeah, it's the Black Pearl of planet travel. That's the 10th alignment, evil as fuck. Why is it always humans who are targeted the most? Because humans get in everybody's business. That's why. And humans are a relatively recent thing. Like, humans have risen to prominence after the descent of the withdrawal of the elves and the dwarves and things like that. So humans are recognized as a potential domineering power, like a very nasty one. Like, for instance, if you're a supernatural creature from another plane of existence who's been alive for millennia, and you witness Imaska and Netheril rise and fall, the ability of humans to steal the power of a god, for instance, that sort of thing. The gods have to limit spell use so that humans don't re-terraform the planet again in an act of magical might that even the gods can't mimic. That's why humans are targeted quite a lot. Also, humans just are like getting into other people's business all the time. It's like, why are their cats always getting injured? It's well, because the cats keep sniffing cleavers and like mincing machines and all that stuff. Like, cats are just getting into things. It's not like the universe is out to kill all the cats. It's the cats are out to find all the dangerous things in the universe. That's humans for you. Evil flight powers, yeah. The computer DM screen, essentially. Let me just get rid of our soul ship here. Ooh, chaos ship. Now, of course, that's a basic chaos ship. They're all quite individual and unique. I suggest you give them personalities, like lock some sort of a demon in them, or like make the deck partly a demon, or make it like the wings, the sails are like Baylor wings or something, I don't know. But make them more individual. So the DM screen is essentially, here's your laptop. Such as my HP Lovecraft laptop here. I think this is is it a Chromebook? No, this is actually a proper laptop. Oh, this is like a Surface Book thing. So you can flip it completely around. I love this thing. You can like use it like a tablet. Anyway, so essentially, here's your laptop, and imagine a panel on the back here, and two panels on the sides. So it provides that extra security, like that extra cover of these side panels here. I think I have a cardboard mock-up of it somewhere. Oh, here we go. Okay, so imagine this is your DM screen made out of silicone stuff, right? Please excuse the prototype. And essentially what it does is it just slips onto... I wanted to make the thing indestructible, like it's designed to last a lifetime and have a very basic function. So you just basically put it on there with some string, say, hook on the corners, and hey presto. So you've got this extra level of security, and it overlaps, it goes over top of the screen a little bit. Here you can see, so you can clip on all of like the character info or maps and stuff like that. And you can write notes and stuff on the inside there, or keep, details and stuff. And it just keeps basically everything private. And once you're done with it, you just fold the bits around to the back, so they form a cover, and it lies flat inside your bag. Ta-da! That's basically it. So it's extra security and privacy for the information on your laptop, and just basically provides all the utility that a DM screen would normally provide, that mythos of being over, but it actually makes it useful because everybody uses laptops and stuff these days, and I figured, why not modernize your DM screen a little bit? It might be cardboard, but the binding is human tendons. Nice. Actually, it's just, I think that's meat binding twine. I'm not entirely sure. I had it sitting around somewhere. But as you can see, it's like we're a long way from getting that funded, and we haven't even got a prototype of it yet. So that would require a substantial bit of cash outlay from me, which I was like, yeah, before we do that, let's just start the Kickstarter and see if we actually succeed before I invest, $6,000 in getting a mold done for the DM screen. We also haven't got a mock-up of the silicone dice tray either. That's a great idea. Why not make it an entire laptop case? Just for the sheer utility of, I wanted to make it fit as many different laptops as possible. So it's got these holes and stuff in it, as you can see. These are not the same as the exact finished design. We extended these holes down a little bit. But it's got the holes in there essentially so you can use whatever sort of binding material you want. You can use colored string, you can use twisty ties, you can use zip cord, anything. Just going to zip back to me. Hello. But yeah, that's a long way off. At the moment, we're just tantalizingly close to getting the canvas tote bags unlocked. Knife ears don't live long. Humans just live less long. The tray and the screen are what you're waiting for now. Cool. Bag of tooting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether we'll get there. It's predicted that the Kickstarter will get to about $88,000 or so. The DM screen won't even unlock until we get to like 100,000 because it's just so expensive to do that whole process of making it. And also, we've got to make sure that because of the minimum order quantities that the factory does, we need to make sure that everybody orders these products. Because if I have a Kickstarter, for example, and only like 200 people order the character sheets, then the minimum order quantity from the factory is 500, then guess who has to pay for and order a bunch of like 300 character sheets? Me. I do. And I have to sell them afterwards. Like, I can guarantee you that all of the stuff is going to get manufactured, for sure. But the possibility exists that somebody doesn't order enough glow-in-the-dark sheets and stuff like that. And with the laptop screen, there's a very, very big risk of that. Does a bag of tooting create mains? Haha! There's somebody who's watched my last video. Hey AJ, got another question. Thanks, Adrianeth. I remember you once saying the Feywild stars are connected to the far realm. Care to enlighten me? The stars? I don't specifically remember saying that. Maybe. They could be. Most of the time, the stars in the Feywild are, it's like a perpetual twilight, so there'll just be 1 or 2 stars, I imagine. Can we get an AJ's Planescape 5th edition? That would be quite a substantial undertaking. You don't want a bag of tooting. Toting? Chocobob! Demogorgon versus Obox Ob. Who would win? Demogorgon. A DM screen with boobs. Is that what you're saying to me, Mr. L? Look, just because my viewership and the hobby itself is dominated by men does not mean that I have to cater to that or take advantage of that. What came first, Castle Greyhawk or Castle Greyskull? I believe Castle Greyhawk did. Are star elves made out of stars? No, they are not. Asymmetric religious warfare. Yeah, DeWolf, absolutely. You've ordered... Hey, thanks PDL. I've ordered multiple character sheets and battle mats, and I want that laptop cover badly. I hope you get it. Honestly, I do. Bilbo Baggins, hello. Do paladins draw divine power from specific gods in lore, much like warlock patrons, or do the divine powers of paladins in 5th edition come from elsewhere? It's up to you. In 5th edition, it's entirely up to you whether they draw their power from a god specifically, or from an ideal, or just from a sense of self-importance. They may power their spells with like vengeance and things like that, but it's pretty much tied in with their background story and what sort of paladin they are. In the lore, if you didn't have a god to provide you any sort of divine oomph, even a lowly cult can cast spells, but they can only cast spells up to 3rd level. Anything over 4th level, in particular in like divine spells, requires some sort of outer power or connection to an outer power. That's just like how they ran it. So if you're a cleric and you go to another plane of existence and your god doesn't exist there, that can be a real pain in the ass if you're saying, well, you're specifically getting your powers from Bakob, the god of magic, and on this plane of existence, Bakob does not exist. So the player says, well, does my cleric lose all their powers? And it's like, no, you can cast all of your 3rd level spells and lower. You just can't cast any 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th level spells from Bakob. And a lot of people will say, you know what, that sucks, I'm not using it, and that's fine. Oh, that's a good suggestion, Darkstride. I never actually thought of that. Can you also make a printable version of the character sheet and the combat tracker for us backers that we can use? I certainly can. In fact, that's a perfect thing to stick on my Spring store. I can make a digital PDF with the character sheet and the combat tracker on there. So you can print it out and use them at home. Kind of ruins the purpose of using the silicone in the first place, which is to avoid people using paper. But I guess you could make a form fillable version of it. I'm gay, but I understand marketing to role players. Right, Mr. L. Bees landing on the mat can be tamed as a mount with an animal handling roll. Tie a strong strand of hair on it like a leash. It works. I've done it with flies in school. Yeah, don't do that. That's not ethical. Betty White, the Lich Queen. She's the oldest. Yeah. can I do a video on the plane of ice and the frost fell? Sure. Do you know of any translations of D&D into... What is that word? Is that the name of a language? Hang on, I need to find out what this is. Oh, is that Greek? Is that the Greek language that you're writing in some sort of text? I don't know. I mean, these days there are people who do translation services who would probably happily translate the entirety of the D&D core manuals for you. Betty White is 99, I believe. Yeah, she's almost 100. Does that mean she was born around the same time as the Queen of England, Elizabeth II? They must be about the same age. Greek. What would my take be on the false Hydra in the lower planes? I think they probably fit very well into Hades. Talking of Greek. Wizards of the Coast just announced they are taking over translation services. Oh, really? Oh, you're making a Lego campaign and can't wait for the glow-in-the-dark battlemat. I can't wait for the glow-in-the-dark battlemat as well. I'm like really looking forward to playing around with that. Like, it's an A1 size sheet of glow-in-the-dark material, rubber. Like, how many uses can you possibly think of for that? It's like, Ma, I think your oven's gone radioactive. It's like, because there's a glow-in-the-dark sheet inside it. The Queen is 95, so Betty White is older than the Queen? Good grief. How to deal with bees landing on the mat or battle mat. I don't know, just shoo them away. Bees are fine. It seems to me that myconids would do really well in space. Is there any D&D literature on this type of thing? Well, yeah, Spelljammer. But yes, like hard vacuum, no. But Spelljammer vacuum, yeah, probably. What non-D&D fantasy novel setting would you like to see as a D&D setting? Me, I would pick Michael Moorcock's Eternal Champion and Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman's Rose of the Prophet setting. The ovens change its alignment. Let's see. Now, it's all well and good to say, I like this novel series and I would love to see that as a D&D setting, but it's another thing to say, I would play many, many games in this if it was a D&D setting. And I think my answer that I provided for one of the DM's roundtables fits perfectly for this, which is Thra, the World of Dark Crystal. That is what I would like to see turned into a D&D campaign setting. In fact, I think it's a role-playing game setting, but I don't think it's necessarily a D&D 5th edition role-playing game setting. It could easily be, though. But I love that idea that there's basically no humans on that planet. It's all different species. Tardigrades in D&D. Betty White once roundhouse kicked Queen Elizabeth during the Gulf War, but it was classified to prevent an international incident. Well, Chocobob, let me just tell you that the Queen of England, she was basically a part of the military. She served in the military. She drives military vehicles and stuff. She's quite capable of driving a tank, as far as I know. And she would wipe the floor with Betty White. Not only that, but she has an army of attack corgis and probably undead attack zombie corgis. Have I checked out the new Border Kingdoms sourcebook by Ed Greenwood? Yes. In fact, I have it right over here somewhere. 2 for 2 today. And you'll see lots of notepaper as I'm reading through it. Yeah. Highly recommend you check out the Border Kingdoms. Ed Greenwood and Alex Kamer. Lots of cool stuff in here. I think Ed needs to update his D&D knowledge to 5th edition in that wands don't need recharging anymore. I haven't seen any magical items that require recharging by a wizard, which has put a great deal of wizards out of business. But yeah. Oh, thanks for the super chat, by the way, Tony. But yeah, I highly recommend it. You've already started something for Thra? Nice, William. You're tempted to get an extra glow-in-the-dark mat to use with a UV light box. Yeah, I mean, even aside from the battle mat potential, just a large glow-in-the-dark sheet of silicone is fantastic. It's got all sorts of fun in games you can get up to. Like my idea of like imitating the Homer Simpson thing where he pulls this radioactive rod out of his shirt. You can do that. You can roll it up into a glowing stick. Hit somebody with your makeshift lightsaber. Whiz. Actually, I don't recommend hitting them with the silicone mats. They are quite hefty. Is Elizabeth also the Queen of New Zealand? Yes, she is. She is our monarch. She is the Queen of the monarchy. She's the Queen of the Commonwealth. And New Zealand is still a part of the Commonwealth, as is Australia, as is Canada. It doesn't make it any easier for me to go to Canada, I imagine. I've got my New Zealand passport, but like Commonwealth citizenship doesn't really mean the same thing as it used to, thankfully. You feel bad for the folk in Moria, yeah. Oh, I've just obligated myself to stat out attack corgis of all types. It's just a zombie dog. Moria. So, oh yeah, like, so parts of specific novels being good for D&D settings. I suppose so. Have I ever had animals, your dog or cat or wasps or whatever, interrupt your game? Any fun stories? No, not really. Jesse, I was talking about the Dark Elf lore earlier on. Do you think it undermines Illustrated? No, I think it highlights the fact that there is different factions of Drow. Can you show the transparent mat? Yeah, sure. Switch over to camera 2. Get rid of my stuff. What's the best way to demonstrate how transparent it is? I know. Okay. Let's pop the transparent mat over top. So as you can see, it's pretty legible. Should be able to read everything just fine. Do-do-do-do. Sakara. Oh, for those of you who are asking about permanent marker pens and stuff, here's a Bic Vivid permanent marker. I've also got, I think I have a Sharpie somewhere. Do I? I might have left them all out on my other table. I've got a green Sharpie. The only one I recommend you don't use is the red Sharpie. Red Sharpies are a no-no. Because the red pigment will stain on here, and I think it would take many hours of UV light, like sunlight, to get rid of it. Okay, so green Sharpie. And black Sharpie. And this is regular, wet, dry, red. Okay. This is a damp kitchen cloth. Super high tech. We'll give it time to dry, I suppose. As you can see, it's very smudge resistant, as you would expect from a Sharpie, but also, can you hear me drawing my finger? If I like draw it with some force, it starts to wipe off. So it's very smudge resistant, and you can draw stuff beforehand and take it to your game, for instance. And like if you have like you can use multiple sheets for like a fog of war effect and have your map underneath there, and then just basically reveal parts of it. And you can play with the transparent mat on the top, and then basically just do all your alterations without changing the map underneath, is what I'm saying. All right, this is actually starting to dry out a bit. So as you can see, it comes off super easy. It's probably easier to tell if there wasn't writing underneath it. But as you can see, it's just... Is there a faint trace you can see? No. I think that's just like smearing. There we go. And just a wet cloth, dry cloth, so I can write on there again with no problems. So yeah, as you can see, it's clear, right? So it handles Sharpies and stuff real well. Thanks, Tony. Betty White coined the phrase "dude." I'm gonna call bollocks on that one. The Sonic Coward, is it true that Australia is thriving with prey and no other dragons to compete for it? No, I know of a few dragons in Australia. They've all got red hair and they're in politics. Yeah, the mouse infestation. Well, that's recently gotten rid of the mouse infestation thanks to snow and torrential rain over in Australia. Yeah, the transparent mat is very good for multi-layered dungeons. That's basically what I would use it for mostly. And just laying over top of existing mats like Tanner Yarrows and Finny Dungeons, for instance. Thanks, Comic Nut. Hey AJ, re-upped my Kickstarter pledge. Just wanted to say rock and roll. Oh, thanks, man. Stephen Hawking's was pretty cool. Tony, thank you. What was the first D&D book that you read cover to cover repeatedly? Mine was first edition copy of Deities and Demigods with all the copyrighted material that got removed in later editions. Oh, nice. Actually, I think it was Traveller was the first book that I read, D&D-esque role-playing book that I read cover to cover. Yeah. And I used to love reading their race things. Probably like the racial book on the Drow. Not the Drow, the Droin for Traveller was one of the things that I've read multiple times. Because I found them really fascinating, this caste-based, semi-reptilian, almost like space kobold society. Thanks, Saint. Yeah, it's well and truly time for me to go, everybody. Thanks to Wall. Thank you. I will have a beer on you. For sure. Not directly on you, but in your memory, in your spirit. In the spirit of you? I don't know. Use the mat to do the Nightmare on Elm Street thing. Could do. Though there's still lots of mice. Plague's very much still in full swing. Damn it. They must have gathered together and like clumped to keep warm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably read the Fiend Folio cover to cover before I read the Traveller book. The original Fiend Folio. Yeah. What kind of beer? Dark beer. That's all I drink. You'll never forget your first D&D setting, Red Box. Yep, that's Mystara. Stanchgate, you are so late, it's over. I think the first fantasy novel that I read was Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis with Reaper Cheap, and yeah, that was a good novel. That was one of the first actual books, novels that I read cover to cover. But it also counts. All right. I doubt Samuel Adams is sold in New Zealand. I don't know. Anyway, time for me to go. Kaibasa. Nice. Kia basa. No, Jan Shevik, my streams are all over the place at the moment. They will, once the Kickstarter is over, things will get back to a normal sort of a regular schedule, if you can say that I have a regular schedule. Thanks, Fred. Kielbasa sausage and pierogies. Nice. It's now afternoon here. It's 1:27 p.m. And I'm out of here. I'm off to go and have some breakfast/lunch. Thanks, Darkstrider. Harry Potter. I've never actually read the Harry Potter novels, any of them. I think I've picked up and had a look through a bestiary of dragons or something like that, but that's about it. Never bought any Harry Potter stuff at all. Toodles sounds like a candy. It does. Okay, everybody. Catch you later. Thanks for hanging out. Hey, thanks, Donald. Some cheese money. Thank you. I'm almost out of cheese, actually. Ooh, cheese on toast for lunch. That sounds good. Did you know that most people in New Zealand just have like a single slice of bread with cheese on it? The idea of putting two slices of bread with cheese on it together and making a melted cheese sandwich has never occurred to them. I don't know if that's a thing or not. All right, everybody. Bye.